What's going on, guys? I hope you're all having a fantastic day out there. I want to thank you, as always, for just stopping by to check out a review. It's always appreciated. Today, we're going to talk about the Hummingbird Project. This movie stars Jesse Eisenberg, Alexander Skarsgård, Salma Hayek, and Michael Mando. I'm going to tell you where this financial crime drama thrived for me. I'm going to let you know where it may have fallen a little bit short, and I'll give you my opinion on if I think it's worth checking out when it hits U.S. theaters on March 15th. So, let's get into it. Written and directed by Kim Nguyen, this story revolves around the world of high-frequency stock trading where milliseconds can end up equaling millions of dollars, and that's something that two traders who just so happen to be cousins are well aware of as they set out to build a fiber optic line that runs straight from Kansas City to the New York Stock Exchange, giving them a fraction of a second advantage that would basically put their former tyrant of a boss out of business. And this was a fascinating story concept to me, and with the addition of a solid cast, I was much more than intrigued. I hoped for a fresh plot line and a collection of compelling characters with some strong performances to back them up, and I would say this movie for the most part delivered on all those facets. This turned out to be a surprisingly engaging film. The premise alone of this straight fiber optic line being built across many states and many different types of terrain was a very ambitious feat to accomplish for this small group, and their underdog story had my attention. I really thought it built some genuine curiosity and a ton of intrigue in how they would be able to pull it off, and more importantly, if they even could. To accomplish this wild plan, the characters had a lot of work to do. There are a ton of varying factors, just a million moving pieces needed to get this job done, and throughout the film I thought there was a nice attention put on the logistics of everything. This would seem like a stressful and just absolutely chaotic of a mess to undertake, and to let alone do it under the radar, which I really thought the layers of the story effectively captured. The swings and moods between all the different characters, the impact this took on them each individually, and many other emotional layers were peeled back in a nice timely way that really gave the story a nice balance. It really helped me connect with the fatigue of the job that they were doing, which had me more invested in things. I would say the performances were all solid as well, but none were standouts. Some of them weren't as gripping as I was expecting them to be. Jesse Eisenberg really did work for the role and the needs of the story, but I wouldn't necessarily say that he really captured a true character performance, meaning that he at times very much, or almost throughout the entire film, not only felt like Jesse Eisenberg, but he felt like the Eisenberg we've seen in past films. But like I said, though, for the case of this story and the imprint that he left on it, I think he provided a very capable portrayal of a man that's desperate to accomplish a task, but I do think that a little more nuance to the character type would have been very beneficial and gone a long way. I would sort of have to say the same for Salma Hayek as well. I mean, she was solid in this role as a shark of a boss that pulls no punches and never hesitates, a character that was very smart and very cunning, one that was strong-willed and determined with a very aggressive personality. There was a nice attitude to her character that really did bring up the energy of the story when she was on screen, but at the same time, it was an attitude that I've seen many times from Hayek, and while it worked for the character and her needs in this story, I thought the familiarity just kind of failed to grab me like I had hoped for, given this was the second character that had me feeling this way. Yet I'll have to admit, I mean, watching familiar faces giving some familiar performances was not a deal breaker for the storyline. Alexander Skarsgård, however, was fantastic in his role. I thought he really disappeared into the character, but it just wasn't from the aspect of appearances. I felt Skarsgård really did a great job of giving his character some uniqueness, some eccentricities, and some emotional patterns that were unlike his own. I think this was the character that really was able to connect with the most, and I mean, despite Eisenberg's character really having honestly a poignant story arc, I think it was the sincerity in the character from Skarsgård and his performance that grabbed me to the point where, to me, he was the main character in this story. He was the most humanized, he had an authentic chemistry with everyone, and it was because of Skarsgård's performance. But while this movie did have very many positives going for it, it just kind of felt lacking in energy, and I guess you could say almost purpose at times. It felt just surprisingly close to being formulaic during sections of the story progression, as well as when and how certain sections of the story were told and how it was edited together. The main storyline and the subplots, despite all kind of feeling unique on their own, were kind of woven together with a very familiar pattern. It was subtle, but as the film continued and I learned more about them and just learned more about their relationship relationship dynamics and the complications of this job and all of the different risks that were involved. I just couldn't really feel the weight of everything despite it maintaining my interest, and with a lack of smooth story continuity, I don't think that really helped much either. But I'd say those were minor hindrances because overall I enjoyed this movie, and I'm going to give the Hummingbird Project a solid 80% on the entertainment meter. I thought it was very creative in large doses. It really did have me interested throughout the film. I do think it was a story that was blended from both unique and recycled story tropes, but when put together, I thought it was all more than enough for a very engaging film with moments of heart and emotion, some capable writing, and charismatic performances. It was fun to see these actors placed together, and while this movie may not really, I guess you could say, knock your socks off with a major lasting impression, it's certainly enough to entertain if you like this genre and these types of stories. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. I would love to hear from you all. Here are some links to some recent reviews just in case you missed them. The link to my official website, all my social media and merchandise store links are going to be down in the description below. And in the event me talking to you guys about movies every couple days is not enough Anthony in your life, I now have a second YouTube channel with a growing collection of non-movie related content for you guys to check out, and I'll see you guys next time.